Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And boy, we've got a really interesting subject today. First of all, I have Jes Kerzen here, and welcome to the High Road, Jess.
Hi, lovely to be here, Nancy. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here. Now, tell me, where are you? Where are you located? Where are you connecting from the UK?
Yeah, I'm in the southwest of the UK.
Okay, all right. Well, here it's just about 4th of July. And of course, our celebration is tomorrow. So I
Oh,
wish,
yeah.
yeah, so I wish everyone a happy 4th of July. And as I was preparing for the show, because we're going to be talking about a wonderful young man who is autistic and he's able to access the Akashic records. Now, I don't want to give everything away because we want to tell the story. But when I was thinking about 4th of July, I thought, wow, is that true? Is it not? We're going to have to ask Asher and see what he says, to have him access. Because a lot of the things that we've learned over recent years have not been the case, have not been the truth. So it's really interesting as humanity wakes up. And do you find that as you're speaking with him, by the way, Jess?
He tells me that the truth is something that changes all the time. We actually wrote a whole section on truth in the book because he said, I don't want people running away with the idea that I'm some kind of guru who can tell them what to believe and what to think. Because
Right.
he said, we're just so over all that stuff. We don't need people to tell us what to believe and what to think. We've just got to make our own minds up. And he said, once upon a time, the truth was whatever the Egyptians believed or whatever the Vikings believed. And now we have different truths. But he said they just come and go
That's
in
interesting.
time.
Yeah.
And in
Well,
fact,
yeah.
he said the only lasting truth, if you like, the one that just stands the test of time, is the golden rule, the treat other people the way you'd like to be treated. And he said that's the only one that really just keeps on going.
Absolutely. And if we could just do that, I mean, that would change things in the entire world. You guys, let me know. I'm going to let you know who Jes Kerzen is. She's really a fantastic lady. And let me just say, this book is really cool. Her book is A Mind Beyond Words. And if you're watching me on video, I'm holding it up. It has a really cool cover. And she's got a really interesting bio. So, Jes Kerzen holds a postgraduate B.Phil degree, and she's worked in a huge variety of roles in many educational settings, from specialist speech and language teacher to head of English, from running an alternative education hub of home educated children. She is a passionate advocate for neurodiverse students, particularly those with autistic spectrum perception and communication challenges. And bless you for your work. I have to say, it's amazing. She found that whenever she worked, these were the children who so often appeared in her life and enriched it greatly. Now, I'm going to just give a little bit of piece of this. So, an encounter with one small boy, however, set her on a journey of discovery that would completely change her life's trajectory. From this child and his classmates, Jess learned that there were many ways of communicating and perceiving she had never dreamed of. She has consequently spent many years, you guys, researching telepathy, remote viewing, and other psychic abilities, along with the spiritual insights that they can sometimes lead to. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm just so grateful that you've come to talk and that you've written this book. Jess, I want you to tell us your story. I'm going to preface this with what I read in the book. An old friend phoned you one day. She worked in a local school. She had a specialist unit for children with speech and language difficulties, and she was oddly insistent that you take the job. And I'll let you take it away.
She was, yeah, it was quite weird. At the time, I'd been taking a career break because I just had my own children and I was staying home being mum to them. And I was just beginning to do a little bit of supply teaching, which is just filling in for a few days or a few weeks for a teacher who's off sick or something like that. So um, I was just dipping my toe back into the education system, if you like. And then this friend called me and said, you've got to come and do this job. And I was actually quite nervous. I'd been teaching mainstream children up to that point, and she said they all had speech and language difficulties. And I said, well, how does that work? You know, how can you teach the
Right.
national curriculum to kids who aren't going to be able to understand you, or you aren't going to be able to understand what they're saying to you? That sounds scary. And
Yeah.
it turned out just about every other teacher they'd approached to do this temporary job had said the same. But she said, oh, no, no, you're the right person for the job. I know you. You just, get along here, come and meet them and you'll see.
Mhm.
So I was nervous and I went along there and I met the kids and oh, they were just lovely, Nancy. I just fell in love with them instantly. There was only 10
Oh,
children in a class and they were little. They were like 4 to 7 year olds. And yeah, some of them had problems with speaking. Their mouths didn't work properly. And some of them had understanding difficulties. And a lot of them couldn't really cope with conversation. But, it's like a mother is with her toddler when a baby is just learning to speak and other people can't understand what they're saying. The mother will often understand when she gets used to the way they talk.
yeah.
I found after a few weeks that after a few days, really, I was starting to understand these kids. So, yeah, I carried on in the job and it was for 3 weeks. And those 3 weeks lasted until a whole term had gone past. And eventually it became a full-time job.
Well, you say you saw the kids playing with each other without speaking and realized that they were reading each other's minds, basically, at one point. I'm skipping
Yeah,
out a little bit, but that's what you realize. You know, let's talk a little bit about Asher. He says in the very beginning of the book, and I agree with this, and I believe this, and I've talked to so many people, that we all have a plan or a design for our life before we come here. And you and he realized before you did, obviously, it says in the book that you planned this from the other side to be together. Talk about
yeah,
that, if you don't mind, please.
yeah. No, that absolutely blew my mind. He was only 6 when he told me this, and he didn't have much speech, but he said that he'd been looking for this person he'd made a deal with for years. He'd been searching because he remembered that he was going to have difficulties when he was born and that he would need a special person who was going to be able to help him. And he knew that they'd made that deal. He just had to find this person. And he told me a few weeks into him joining the class that I was that person. And we'd made this deal and I didn't have a choice. This was going to
You
be
feel
my
it?
job.
Jess, did you feel it too at the time? Did you kind of feel that connection with him?
I won't say it was like oh yes, I remember that. It wasn't like that.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
did feel that he was telling me the truth. I didn't see this as some wacky little kid who had, been
Right.
watching too many sci-fi programs or something.
Right.
He
Okay.
just I felt it was true.
It
Yeah.
was real. Yeah. And I want to skip a little bit to where you were really good. You became close to his mom, Nina.
Mm,
And she had cancer, and that you
yeah.
helped him through that. And that was another, and that's in the book, you guys. You're going to have to read it to hear the story. But you know, it's interesting. What I wrote down is that he did not process his feelings as others cannot verbalize. And what I realized, and I want to ask you about this, he is he, do you say he's autistic? Is Asher autistic? Okay. So a
Yeah.
lot of these autistic children, is that what you're seeing from your experience, is that they don't know how to um, process their feelings? Is that one of the things?
Yeah, I wouldn't generalize on every autistic person because there's
Right.
a very wise saying that says once you've met an autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And so they are all
No, they're all different. Yeah.
different. But I would say, in a general sense, a lot of people with autistic perspectives have a bit of difficulty with just knowing what their emotions are, knowing how they're feeling. It's very hard to explain, but even something like hunger or anger, it's not like they suddenly think, oh, I feel angry because X, Y, and Z has happened, or I feel
Okay.
very hungry, so that's making me feel grumpy. It's more complicated than that. It's just a matter of they don't process things the same as us. They have emotions, they have feelings, but they don't find them as easy to pigeonhole as neurotypical people do.
The reason I bring this up is I wonder if there are people, and I'm feeling this intuitively, that aren't would you wouldn't consider autistic, but have a lot of the tendencies maybe, and have problems with emotions. Just don't have the verbalization issues, but have the emotional issues. That's I think I've seen
Yeah,
a lot of that. Yeah. Um,
yeah. I mean, Asher would say to me that there's this whole thing about autistic people never make eye contact with you, and they're not really interested in you. And he said it's not like that. It's actually that sometimes they can see too much.
right.
And if they look into your face, if they look into your eyes, they can read you like a book. And that's quite scary for them, especially if what you're saying isn't what's in your heart, it's not what you're feeling.
Right, they pick up well, I'm an empath, so I get that completely, and it's hard
Right.
because empaths pick up on, energy that they don't want to a lot of times, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Now, did he have hard time with crowds, being with a lot of people with that energy being or not?
Yeah, he's in fact, even now, I mean, he's a young man in his early 30s now, but he is not somebody who enjoys being with big crowds of people. And
I'm
yeah,
going to read something from your book, if it's okay, on page 36. You guys, the book is A Mind Beyond Words. And this is something, this is Asher, and I just want to read this. I just found it fascinating. He says, light, and we're talking about, I guess I want to kind of preface this a little bit. He's talking about different realms. And he says, light is total clarity, total brilliance and focus. It's certainty with no room for doubt. That's why it's so hard to convey in a world where duality is in everything. There is light in all people, but always tinged with some shadow, some uncertainty, some doubt. If light is to expand, it must work in way into a place where there is shadow and darkness. Physical life is temporary, which means this is what we term death, leading to loss and sadness and pain. The body has needs, and the search for fulfillment can become acquisition, greed, conquering, or submission. Life on earth is unpredictable. There are many variables, and that causes uncertainty and fear. We test ourselves in trying to find ways to put more light in place. That just means we are thrusting deeper into the shadows. And I have to say, this was about death he was talking about, not the realms. I apologize. But man, what a perception on the light and the dark.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he gave me that as an adult. That wasn't when he was a little boy, but yes, it's a pretty perceptive thing, isn't it? And
It really
isn't he
is.
right?
It really is. Well, and so he's able to access the Akashic records. You guys have done some he's done some astro traveling, you've done some remote viewing. Do you want to talk about some of these things, or how you feel that it's helped or hindered, or what do you feel?
Yeah, the remote viewing was actually a sort of really neat way into all the astral projection and telepathy and stuff, because at that point we were still working verbally with each other. He doesn't work with me using words at all anymore. He works purely through telepathy. He just sends thoughts. But we're going back some years now, and at that time we were still in touch. We text each other or phone each other or whatever. We live right across the country from one another now. He's over in London on the east, and I'm down in the west. But that's, you know, no problem. And yeah, we decided to start. I'd seen a video on remote viewing, and it was something I thought, hey, Asher is just going to love this. And so I told him about it, sent him the link to the video. He just went, yeah, we could do that. And it doesn't matter that we're in different places, we live miles apart, because, you know, we started off just using crystals. So I would perhaps be holding a crystal and he would try and pick it up, and then he'd sort of tell me what color it was, what shape it was, whether it was clear or opaque or any features of it. Then we started moving into much more exciting things, like I'd go off to some location, would tell him where I was going, and he would just tune into me. We'd know exactly what time we'd be doing this.
Right.
And then he'd be able to draw me a map of where I was, write details about what he'd seen, and it was mind blowing. It really was. And you know that
it's and
sorry.
I just want to no, I was just wanted to comment that he's just tuning into your energy, and it's just enhancing the psychic abilities. I don't think you did it. A lot of people, when you say remote viewing, I've had people on the show who look at other people's documents and stuff like that. This wasn't what you guys were doing. You were just connecting and enhancing the abilities so that you could connect even though you were far away, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good point, Nancy. I think you've absolutely nailed it there. Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Because I'm like,
that's how it felt.
I don't really like when people do it for that reason, but what you guys did was really, really cool. I just think it's really interesting. So I want to rewind a little bit, and I have questions as far as the telepathy. I believe that we all will eventually be able to communicate in that way, and that we probably used to and lost it, and we'll get it back. That's just my feeling. But
Mhm.
at what point did you start to work with him telepathically?
Um, we did a little bit of it when he was a child, and it sort of happened on and off throughout his childhood and adolescence. Like
Okay.
he'd sort of beam feelings to me because he wanted me to, like, one time, an example I give in A Mind Beyond Words, there was this one occasion, he was about 16 and it was a Sunday afternoon, and he suddenly was feeling anxious because he had a work placement interview the next day and he was really worried about it. So
Mhm.
a normal person perhaps would have just phoned a friend and said, hey, can you talk me through this? But he didn't do that. He just beamed this telepathic feeling of extreme anxiety. And I'm in my house getting on with whatever I'm doing on a Sunday afternoon. And
Right.
I suddenly felt this in the gut, this real feeling of like, oh, wow, what's happened? To the
Mhm.
point that I got up and walked around the house and went and checked with all my family that they were all okay, that there was nothing wrong. And then
Wow.
I thought, oh, hang on, this must be Asher. So I phoned him up and said, are you beaming sort of anxiety at me? And he went, yeah, you took your time.
Wow. I love it.
Uh,
I love that you're still so close. That's so fabulous that you've
yeah,
maintained this relationship. How many years has it been now?
gosh, well, over 25. It was 25 when I wrote A Mind Beyond Words, and it must be about 27 now. And
Wow. That's
yeah,
incredible. So I want to know something, and I think the audience probably does too. I've heard that that I shouldn't say most, and I don't want to again categorize like you said, a lot of autistic children do communicate telepathically. Is that proper?
I'm learning that that seems to be the case. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of them don't, or a lot of them have and forget, as you intimated earlier. And I
Right.
think it's possible that all children, little children, do have that ability, but we have it kind of socialized out of us, if that makes sense, because there's so much pressure for them to learn to talk and use words
Ah,
that
why,
they,
why, why try something else? Right.
yeah, why use this sort of system that people don't pick up on so much?
Well, it'll be a
Asher told me as a little boy, before I knew him, he said, I tried beaming thoughts at people, but they just weren't picking them up. I was picking their thoughts up, but I couldn't see why they weren't picking mine up. And then suddenly he's like, oh, I've got to master this speaking thing. Oh, pain.
Now, can he speak today?
He can. Yeah, he can. Yeah, I taught him. I was very careful, and I had a lot of experts working with me. And yeah,
Right.
his speech isn't quite as fluid as some people's. He has what he described as an accent, which means he's just got a slightly stilted way of speaking. But he can speak, and he definitely can understand. But he
Okay.
chooses not to use words with me.
That's it. That's really cool, actually. So he remembers heaven.
Yeah, basically,
Do you
yes.
want, can you share a little? I don't want to give away your whole book. Can you share a little bit of it? Anything
Yeah.
that really stood out to you that really,
God, he started as a teenager, really, just sort of telling me he discovered this way of moving to somewhere else. He didn't give it a name like heaven. He didn't say where it was. And he said, I can't actually describe it to you in words because we don't have words. And by this time, he'd got a very good vocabulary, but he said there just aren't words to describe this experience, these things that I see. And
right. I want to stop you for a second. I'm getting super hot. I feel like Asher's here. I'm
could
sorry. I'm
be.
just going to be really honest with you. I'm an empath and I am overwhelmingly warm. Are you feeling his presence here right now? Because I am.
I asked him before we started, I ask him, every time I'm going to do something like this, I'll say, hey, you're going to drop in, you're going to hang around. So, yeah, I expect he's around with us.
He's definitely here. I will tell you that because I'm sweating and I can just feel his energy is intense. All of a sudden, when you were talking about heaven, it got really intense. What really hit me, I think, when you were talking about heaven, oh my gosh, was that he says how peaceful everybody is and how there is no pain and all of that. And I think that's comforting, and that's why I think I bring it out more than anything.
Yeah. Oh no, he's got very sort of clear ideas. You were right there. Oh
Yeah,
dear. He
yeah,
he's got very, clear impressions of what it's like to be beyond the veil on the other side, whatever words you want to use. And uh,
right.
yeah, a good experience, a lovely experience. And yeah, he's very encouraging actually.
I
It's
love that. I love that. So you talk about the astral envelope in your book, and that is some of the traveling. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, I don't know which of us came up with the term astral envelope, but it's the way he puts his thoughts across to me.
Oh,
Asher says that words are restricting, which we all know. You get a word like love or a word like courage, and it can mean so many different things, but
yes.
it's this one tiny word. And he says for him, words are just in little boxes and they don't give you the
The
sort of
whole, okay.
breadth to expand. So when he sends his ideas to me, sometimes I pick them up as words, but just as often I'll pick them up as pictures, or I'll pick them up as a kind of movie going on in my mind. I can actually see,
Like,
something happening and things, yeah, kind of mind movie thing. Sometimes I'll I'll say to him, can you show me what it's like in this experience, or what, explain this to me. And he will just send me a feeling, and I'll feel perhaps that I'm sort of moving up very fast, or I'm changing changing temperature like you just have.
Well, and
There'll be
he just, yeah,
something going on that,
yeah, he backed off, but he does have something he wants to say. It's like he wants to, uh, he wa I don't know. Is there something you want me to say? Tell the audience? Is that why you're here? He's observing, and he's happy that you're doing the show, by the way, and he loves the book. He really loves the book. He's very proud. I think that's it. He wants me to convey to you how much this meant and how much you've meant to him. I think that's what he wants me to tell you. Um, how this is really it's like a celebration. I get the word celebration. It's like a celebration, this book. He feels that,
that's
I
it.
get that he feels that it'll help a lot of other people, you know? So
that
yeah,
that makes absolute sense. That's just what he would be
yeah,
saying. I
he's
mean,
here.
yeah,
He's like, he's just like,
great.
yay. He's like clapping. He's like all excited. I just think that's really interesting. I've never had this happen. So I like how he talks about the realms. You say in the book 0 point field or the field or Akashic realms. I always feel like it's Akashic records because he talks about the library because he does travel
Yeah,
to the library. Do you as well? Or no?
no,
No.
I don't know.
I
No,
don't
I'm the
either, but
one with both feet stuck down on the ground. I have to be here to be grounded. I mean, his analogy is that he's away up in the clouds somewhere, for
yeah.
want of a better term. He's not
Yeah.
very good at grounding. He's not very good at, you know, doing all the sort of physical life stuff because he doesn't really fit into his body very well. He's usually, his spirit's out of his body. So he needs me to be there to ground
Found him.
his thoughts, all his astral envelope of experiences and ideas, and to put them, to wordize them. That was what he said, to turn those
Yeah.
non-words into words and put them in a book. So,
Yeah, he
yeah,
needs you. Yeah, you keep him grounded. I love that. I think it's wonderful.
yeah. Well,
We're all going to
that's
be
why we made that deal.
That's why you made the deal. I love it. Now, one thing I want to say, it's hard for me to ground personally. I'll say that. I understand him because I don't really want to be here either. I would rather be up in those realms too. So I get
I
that.
can understand
But
that.
yeah, but we have work to do here, and that's why we chose to come. So here's the big question. Is this what you chose that you would do before you came, or is there more to come, or what was the mission? Is there, where are we with this mission right now? Do you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
that's the big question. That's a good one. The book was certainly a major part of our life purpose. And
Yeah.
you know yourself, don't you, Nancy? When you do something and it just feels right on every level, from cellular right up to spiritual, you just think, yeah, that's what I was supposed to do, whether it's where you're working or where you're living or whatever. When you're on the right path, and you get all the little synchronicities and things come in, and everything just drops into place like magic, and you think, yeah, this is what I was supposed to do. So
Yeah.
that book, Command Beyond Words, is a major, major part of it. And he says there's more to come, and we're actually working on the early stages of a follow-up book at the moment.
Wonderful.
It's not got a title or anything yet, but we're getting going. But yeah, he said we're here to act as a bridge between the physical life, where people have, by and large, got a bit stuck in material stuff and everyday
Right.
life, and not really been able to access the spiritual realms as much as they could. And he said, I don't want to sort of try dragging everybody off to into outer space to meet aliens. It's nothing like that. But he said it's just, we're a bridge, he and I
Right.
together, I suppose, to sort of
Right.
help people to move further along that path.
Yeah, we're on the same path. I teach people how to connect with the divine source, with God, whatever you would like to say. I also teach people to connect with their guardian angels, and that's what my new book is coming out, A Guide to Angel Connection and Spiritual
Oh,
Law.
lovely.
Yeah, and it's because the same thing that he's talking about and you're talking about, we've lost that connection. I just wanted, it only takes a few minutes to tap in every day, to ground yourself and to tap into that love energy, that joyful energy, which makes you joyful, and your body is responds with a healthier, more vibrant, glow and all of that. I mean, it's a whole thing. We're energetic souls. And
Yeah,
yeah, we've lost our way to connect. That's what I see more than anything. So that's what he says too, isn't it? That's cool.
yeah, yeah, it absolutely is. And as you say, it's so easy to do once you learn to do it. It
Right.
really happens. So, I mean, to give an example, this morning, I mean, we're in a different time zone.
Yeah.
So for me, it's, where are we? About 4:30 in the afternoon now.
Right.
I woke up this morning and I'd slept well, but I felt like I'd done so much work during the night. I was absolutely exhausted. And I thought, oh gosh, I've got an interview to do later on today, and I'm so tired I can hardly drag myself out of bed. And I just mentioned this to a few friends online, and oh, put the feeling out to the universe, said, look, I need some energy, please. And they just came in from everywhere. I
Oh
had
my God.
emails from people I hadn't seen in ages who, didn't know anything about this, but just, hey, I just wanted to connect and tell you this and tell you that. And I've got all this energy coming in, and I
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
oh, this is wonderful.
Well, here, I'll send you some good energy too. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
gratefully received.
You're welcome. How cool. What a wonderful thing you guys have done. You're going to help so many children. I really feel that way. Whether whether they're autistic or whether they just have, like you said, speech problems, there's a lot of different things, but this will help the parents and this will help the kids and this will help, so many. I want to know, is there like a couple stories or anything that you'd like to share with us that you feel that the audience would like to hear? Or is there anything that, Asher wants to tell us? He's already been here once.
I don't know. And the weird thing is, he's still at work at the moment. He's holding down a job as well as joining with
He's
you.
still
So
doing it, I'm
yeah,
telling you. Do you
yeah.
pick anything up that he wants to say, or is there a story that you'd like to share or anything like that?
I think I'd like to pick up on what you were just saying about how it helps other people, because this is what I've noticed since A Mind Beyond Words has been out there.
Right,
I've been selling it as well as selling it online. Obviously, it's available at all the
right,
booksellers online. Yeah, but also I've been selling it just in a small way at local holistic fairs and things like that. And I'll put up my banner and I'll put out my display of books, and
right.
I just wait for people to come to me. And I'm
Me too.
finding so many people who they're just drawn across the room. It's like a magnet, and they say, will you tell me about this book? And I talk a little bit about what happens in it, and they go, yeah, I believe you, because it's happening to me and my autistic child, or it's happening in the care home that I work in with adults with learning difficulties, or it is happening in the school that I work in, or whatever. But all these people who say, I've never told my story to anyone before,
Wow.
but because you're saying, these things, it validates them for these, it validates their experience for those people. And
Right.
that was the reason we wanted to write it. So, yeah, and yeah, some of them have become actually quite good friends, and
I love
not
it.
just in my country. I've got people in Australia, in the United States, all over the world, who just sort of connect in and say, yeah, I've had this kind of experience, or I know that my child has got things that he or she wants to share with me, even if they're completely non-speaking, if they haven't got spoken language at all, there's still that ability to put things across telepathically.
Now, if somebody, I mean, I don't want you to tell us everything, but what's the first step? I mean, is to just, I would imagine I'm getting my own answer. I guess it's just to listen, isn't it? And then see what you pick up, huh?
Is to listen and to believe.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the same thing with connecting with
yeah,
God and the angels. It's the same thing.
yeah, yeah. It must be, I'm sure. Yeah,
Oh my
it
God.
is to know that you have this ability. You were born with this ability,
Right,
and it's
right.
just been socialized out of you because you
On
think of a
purpose.
little kid. Yeah, you think of a little kid who's has an imaginary friend. You know that when they sort of mummy says, "Who on earth are you talking to?" Oh, I'm talking to my friend
Mm-hmm.
Amy here. You know, she's my friend, and the parents would tell them off for lying or tell them, you know, not to
Yeah,
make up
they don't want anybody
stories.
to think their kid's nuts or anything, right?
No, I mean, there's so much pressure that, you know, no, we don't do that. No, that's not on. And eventually the kid will just sort of go, oh, well, maybe I'm not seeing you, my imaginary friend, you know, and perhaps I've just got to. And eventually that ability shuts down. But
Mhm.
if we encourage them, we let them. I've just been noticing recently traveling around a local town, and I'll just look at a baby in a pushchair, and you'll suddenly see a little kid's eyes light up, and they'll start waving their little hand at something that isn't there to the rest of us, but they can see someone or see
Yeah,
something. And
yeah.
you think, yeah, there's more there, but we just had it knocked out of us
Suppressed.
by
Yeah, yeah.
common sense has prevailed. I'm not a great fan of common sense.
Me either. But you know what, Jess? We're getting back there. I will say, I'm out here teaching people to connect. You and Asher are teaching people to connect. It's coming back. I want to say
Yeah.
one more thing about your book, A Mind Beyond Words. This is fabulous, I feel, intuitively for teachers who are in the schools. I think every teacher who is, whether the child is autistic or not, all children have issues. And boy, we need to pick up on their emotions more than we do. We shut them off real quick instead of, and do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I think, I don't know about your country. In my country, it is starting gradually. There are, I think because it has to, there are
It
so
has
many
to.
schools where children have got, I wouldn't say mental health issues, but they've got emotional and social problems. They are finding it harder and harder to fit into a classroom. When
Right.
I was teaching,
To
it
conform.
was maybe, one child in a class, but these days I've got a family member who works in education, and she's telling me in every class there's 3 or 4 children at least who are really struggling to do that sort of sitting down and getting on with what they're being told to do and having more and more information pushed
Right.
into them.
Right, which brings me to a question that I think a lot of people want to know. And I feel, and I've heard this before, but I want to know your take on it. I feel that the autistic children are here for a reason to help us raise our vibration, to help humanity. It's not a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a mistake, and it's not a pathology, it's not a disorder. These people have incarnated differently. Um,
Purpose.
yeah, there is a purpose, and their purpose is to raise the vibration, as you said. It's to because they're not caught up in all the nitty gritty of everyday life.
Right.
They can pull themselves out of all of that, and I often compare it to a monk or a nun who goes into a convent and takes a vow of silence or something. They don't do that just to punish themselves. They do that so that they can really focus in
Mhm.
on
And
their
connect.
spiritual beliefs and make
Yeah.
their connection with the divine. And that's, I think, what a lot of these people are doing. And if they can share it with the rest of us, that's got to be a great thing, hasn't it?
It is a great thing. I love it. Well, Jes Kerzen, it's been a pleasure. I'm so excited that you came to see me today.
Oh, I'm so pleased that I did. I've had a lovely time chatting to you, Nancy,
I
and thank
know
you
you had
so
fun.
much.
Well, I want to know how, if people want to get in touch with you, is there a website? How do
Yeah,
they reach you? Can you give that information out for us?
yeah, it's www.ashertree, one word, ASHERTREE.com.
Okay.
All
And then
right,
will Asher
www.ashertree.com.
answer questions or for people?
Well, there is, that's a
I don't
difficult
know. I'm just
question.
asking.
I mean, we do a newsletter once a month, which you can subscribe to from the website, and he always puts a little message to people, which I download from him, and there's always a paragraph or so from Asher directly to our subscribers.
Okay.
We've had people asking things like, what should I do about changing my job, and what should I do? Should I move to this new place, or should I take up with this boyfriend or whatever? And Asher
Right.
says, look, you can be kind to these people, but it's not my place to answer those questions. They're actually here on this planet to do all those problem solving things for themselves. That's
I
what they're
love
here
it.
for.
I love
It's,
it.
they don't just hand it over to somebody else and say, you solve all my problems and I'll just do whatever you tell me to, because so he has on occasion, if there's somebody with a real sort of heartfelt issue to do with,
Oh,
say,
help.
autism and stuff, then he has helped people, but he's certainly not going to be an agony aunt.
Well, and if it's true, I'll say this. I do angel readings, but I don't have the information. My angels bring the information in. But on every reading I do, I find myself connecting people with their own guardian angel just so they can get their own answers. Because,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I agree with what you're saying. I may interpret something completely, well, no, actually, I don't. But 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 I just think that people need to get their own answers. You're correct. But they need to learn. They need to learn to connect. That's the biggest, that's
Yeah, it's having the confidence in yourself to believe that you can find the answers, and
and
that
you
you
can do
have
it.
got
Yeah.
your support team up there who are gunning
They're
for
helping
you
you.
and willing to help. Yeah.
Right. Well, Jess, we got to get out of here for today. You guys, the book is A Mind Beyond Words, Jes Kerzen. You guys got to pick this up. I will mention that my new book's coming out pretty soon. It's a guide to angel communication. I'll let you know when you can pick it up on Amazon. You can pick up my first book, Wake Up, the Universe is Speaking to You. And if you want an angel reading, please go to my website, nancyyearout.com, and you can book your date and time, or if you just want to learn how to connect. Jess, we're getting out of here. I wish everybody a happy 4th of July and God bless.